memories of growing up are categorized into the house that we lived in at the time, as we moved very often. Often it was because we were evicted or kicked out of wherever we were living. My mom wasn't exactly what I call the nurturing type. She loved her men and her drugs, and the kids that she birthed were just pawns in a number of games, often of which she would make herself a victim. But the reality was that we were hurt as a result of her games. One time I remember grabbing all the drugs and paraphernalia and running to the back of our yard to a brick wall. I didn't know what we were doing or why. I was just doing what my mom was saying to do. I later learned that we were hiding evidence because her boyfriend at the time was being visited by his parole officer. It was in this house I also remember being hospitalized after a good beating. I'd sat on the edge of my bed, and apparently that wasn't allowed. I woke up in the hospital. I don't remember much before then. After the hospital, I stayed one night at my mom's friend's house. My aunt had found us. She and my grandparents and my mom were all estranged during this period. They would bring us home to their house on the weekends, and we would get a bath, and my Aunt Pam would take us to church. It was on one of these weekends that I accepted Christ. I remember the Sunday school teacher telling us that there was a Heavenly Father who loved us and just wanted us to love him in return. And I was in awe to think that I had a Heavenly Father that would love this dirty little girl, and I didn't have to do anything to him or for him. I raised my hand that day. At this new house, I got to experience all the fun from my mom's husbands, her boyfriends, and all their friends and family. I have memories that are partial, which I believe are blocked because of some of the details. I have memories that I don't share because they're just too dark and make others just way too uncomfortable. My mom would tell me that I was crazy, I was selfish, or I was bad if I would say anything. We had a CPS visitor once visit us, and I got in trouble because I didn't act the way my mom told me to. We moved on to the next location. My mom would yell, she would holler, her husbands would beat us often, and then she would make excuses that we were acting wrong and that it was our fault for getting a beating. It was not uncommon for us to have food that had ants in it or those little mini roaches, and if we didn't eat it, we would get in trouble. I remember once my mom beating the oldest of our boys, and she just kept hitting him until I said, stop, and she turned her wrath on me. It was better for her to hit me than it was for me to watch Kenny get beat anymore. When I got pregnant with my first son, I vowed that I would protect him and always keep him safe, whatever it took. When he was killed, we were in California. My mom came to the police station, and she acted like she was the victim and started hollering at the police. Outside the police station, she had her current boyfriend, and they were talking about where they were going to go shopping and going home to have the next party. When I looked at my mom standing in that parking lot, I recognized again what I really had in a mother. The bitterness and disgust with my mother grew. I was gifted with another baby, and I was struck with how my mom never protected her kids, but we were surviving. We survived with scars, but we survived. And yet, I would have done whatever it took for my boys, and my baby was killed. The unfairness was more than I even still want to comprehend. Here I was trying to take care of another baby. I remember praying that I was the mom that my kids needed, and I would not follow the example I had, and I knew I needed to change. I was able to see patterns that were being repeated, and I knew I had to smash those patterns. I had accepted Christ, and I had forgiven those responsible for Joey's death. Still, I needed to learn how to allow God to change me in my depth. I started praying on that, and I felt God clearly tell me, your mother is a broken person. You must forgive her. She is not walking with me. View her as you would view another lost person. And when I did that, when I forgave her for allowing the abuse to happen, and I looked at her as a lost person incapable of loving like I needed or even loving another, I saw a different person. The Japanese have a word that means golden joinery. They have pieces of broken pottery that is glued together with gold and platinum and silver, and you can see all of the spots where the pottery's been broken, and it makes it so much more beautiful. And that's who we are. We're broken, but when we're glued together with God's love, we're more beautiful.